repealing the death penalty. It'd be Senate Bills 121 and 122. I'm opposed to killing a person to show that killing is wrong. And I'm wondering what your views are in repealing the death penalty. And I don't think any of you are on the Senate States Affairs Committee, but whoever has the courage to answer it, please.
I didn't realize there were two bills. I heard that there was one out there. Last year, the legislature took up this issue, and the bill was deferred to the 41st day, so to speak, on a very narrow vote. In the House committee, I think it was 7-6, and it's always a difficult issue. And I wrestled with this over the years, but ultimately I don't find biblical evidence to dispute the implementation of the death penalty. It's a very difficult issue, and it's very emotional for a lot of people, but as I've contemplated things, I have listened to people, I've prayed about it, I've again consulted with my Bible, and I continue to search for answers, but at this point I would not plan on supporting those bills. The state has a paramount interest in protecting innocent life, and I would hate for us to ever impose the death penalty on an innocent person. I know that is a great concern for a lot of people. In South Dakota, the death penalty has seldom been used, more frequently lately, no doubt. But it's an issue that I just want you to know that regardless of your opinion and how some of you may differ with me, I respect where you're coming from. I can tell you that. It's one of the biggest issues that we deal with, life and death decisions, certainly. So I thank you for your question.
I pulled up the bill. Senate Bill 122 is something that I've heard more discussion about here lately, and I know both of them are the death penalty bills, and completely agree. We're going to take this very serious, and it's something that we as a legislature are faced with a task. We have to vote yes or no. There's no vote in between, and we're going to deal with that. But they've been meeting as a group that I haven't been involved in those discussions. I'm not signed on to either bill, but I've definitely been thinking about my position on the death penalty. But something that I would ask that most of us take a look at is the Senate Bill 122. That you look at the different sponsors between the two bills, and it's different as far as who's sponsoring which one. But on 122, one of the sponsors is a retired judge, and he's someone that's new to the Senate this year. And in fact, he even sentenced, I believe, that Moeller character, and so, or he actually handled things there. So he has an interesting take on this, and I think that's going to be something we are going to value a lot as legislators, is listening from those that have been involved personally in making these decisions. And so, but something that's in here, it says in the first section of the bill, it says, a finding that the defendant, this is new language, a finding that the defendant is too dangerous to be incarcerated and is an ongoing danger to the public and the prison community. That's probably fair enough. If there's that statement in there that says, we're not going to have the death penalty, but if there's an instance given out for our professionals at Department of Corrections and the judicial system, that if this person truly is someone that we can't keep incarcerated, they should have that out. So I guess looking at things, that's something that probably interests me more. And again, I hope that they do bring us those bills, at least 122, down to the Senate floor for discussion.
I was on House State Affairs last year when we debated this issue, and it impacts you, or impacted me in a way that I didn't think it would impact me. Like Alex said, it is life or death, and these people did horrible things to other people, and it would seem like it would be an easy decision, but when you're in a position where you're hearing both sides, reasons for it, it was probably 2 hours, and how it's impacted former attorney generals or people involved in those cases, and also how it impacts family members of those victims. It isn't a very easy decision, or it isn't an easy decision at all, which I didn't realize until I was sitting at that front table having to. That was the first time I actually had to vote on that issue in my legislative experience, and it's. I don't know. I voted no to repeal the bill last year, but it's not, and it's not. I don't think it's something that you lock down on, and that you listen more, you think about it, you talk to more people, you pray about it, and your opinion might change. And so I don't know what I'll do this year, because it's just a very hard decision, and maybe people don't understand that it is a hard decision, but go back and listen to the 2 hours of testimony in State Affairs last year. I don't remember the bill number. Steve Hickey was the prime sponsor, and then I think you'll get a glimpse of how hard that decision is, no matter what your feelings are on it.
The way Senate Bill 122 is written, it would basically eliminate all death penalty. It's just written in a way it doesn't appear on the surface, but if you read it closely and carefully, it would eliminate. Because what it says you cannot do capital punishment on anybody who's a danger to the public and the prison community. Well, if they're in a prison, there isn't much danger to the public, so the answer is they would be exempt from the death penalty based on the way the law is written. I wish I had the exact numbers, but I'll do it the best I can from memory. In the history of South Dakota, 125 years, I think we've executed approximately 5 to 10 people. When I first got to the legislature, we'd gone 50 years without executing one person. What that's telling you is we don't use it very often. You have to go out of your way to qualify. I would predict, and I'm doing this from memory and best guess, I would say for every 10 murders, maybe every 15 murders, we have 1 death penalty. So the vast majority of murderers do not get the death penalty in South Dakota. If this bill came to me, I would vote against it. And the reason is I believe the death penalty needs to stay in place. And the reason, not that I support the death penalty, I support the opportunity for the death penalty, and there's a difference there. Imagine, if you remember what happened in France a few weeks ago, where these terrorists went into a newspaper and killed innocent people, savagely killed them. The Attorney General has given testimony, and I don't have the time to give all the testimony, but I remember stories about some murderers out in the Black Hills that forced a young man to drink acid. And then they stripped him down and made him lay in a stream in October, and they kicked his ears off. Kicked him in the head and his ears fell off. And then they went other things to torture him. They killed him finally with hitting him with a rock while he laid in the stream with 35-degree water with no clothes on. And they did that over a stereo. They wanted to steal a stereo. And those murderers got the death penalty. I believe one has been executed. I think one committed suicide in prison. I think one is still waiting the death penalty. But the point of the story is if the most horrific, imagine if a gunman came in the back door and started killing and killed 50 of us. I think we'd want that in our toolbox. I think we want the opportunity to make that decision. I don't want that. I don't want to wake up one morning, read a horrific headline, and find out that's not in the toolbox.
there's other creative bills out there. On the House side, there's even one that we're going to be considering if it makes it through committee, that you have the right to put on your driver's license that if you become the victim of someone who's murdered you, that you choose not to have them have the death penalty. But my question is, what if it was a double homicide committed by the same person and one had it on the driver's license and the other one didn't? You know, so I don't think that one's going to fly. The past legislators have kind of stated my beliefs. It's a highly emotional issue when you choose probably that who's to live and who's to die. But I was at the DCI department the other night. We were looking at various displays, and there was a letter by George Sitz, and he was the first person to receive the death penalty in the state of South Dakota. And on the letter, it said, that, and I don't even remember who it was addressed to, but he was saying that he was in prison and he was having the best time of his life and he had good food and it just like he was on a holiday there. Well, I personally didn't think that he should be living what he thought the life of leisure, and I guess the state of South Dakota didn't either, because he was the first one to go into the electric chair at that time and be put to death by capital punishment. When people talk to me about the death penalty, though, and I don't mean to get too religious on this, but when they talk to me about it, the resounding thing that comes in my mind is, give us Barabbas. We want Barabbas. And the victim, the innocent victim, Jesus, was allowed to die. But they wanted Barabbas to be saved. So I guess that's what keeps coming to my mind. And it is an emotional issue, and with that I'll stop.
Well, we spent a lot of time discussing this one, so I'll just save everybody my decision-making process and let you know that I will be voting against those bills if they come to my desk.
Thank you.